5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Lane 6, it's Odeika Giscombe from the United States. And then we have...
Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I am going to connect with Odeika Giscombe and find out what makes her an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Before we get started, as always, if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and ding that bell for notifications. All right, let's begin. Odeika, thanks so much for joining us today. Why don't you start us off a little introduction?
Yes, my name is Odeika Giscombe. I am 35 years old. I am a mother of 3. I'm married to Tyrone Giscombe. I currently live in Cocoa, Florida, and I work as a senior probation officer in Melbourne, Florida.
Well, great to meet you. Before we get talking about what you're doing today, why don't you give us a little history of your athletics?
Okay, so I've always been fast, I guess. So I started running in middle school, and then from there, I grew a love for it, the passion of just competing. I went to Oak Ridge High School in Orlando, Florida, where I was a part of 3 state championship teams. In 2007, I was the most point scorer for our team of 32 points, which is the most points in a state meet. I currently hold the school record there at 11:45 and 23:69. I did have the 400 record, and then an athlete that I coached, she broke the record, so the record is now 52 seconds. So I went on after Oak Ridge High School. I graduated there and went on to University of Georgia on a full athletic scholarship. After Georgia, I got my master's degree at UCF in Florida.
When you got done with your college athletics career, did you do anything after that? Did you continue running or did you get involved maybe in any other sports, or were you involved in any other sports even during your track and field days?
Yeah, during my track and field days, I also ran cross country. I played basketball for a little bit. Obviously, basketball wasn't my thing, but so I stuck to track. After college, though, I did decide to continue to train for a little bit, but then it didn't. I didn't get the immediate success that I wanted, so I left Georgia and moved back to Florida, where I immediately started working at my alumni high school, Oak Ridge High School. I started coaching there. That was my first job right out of college, so it was perfect. I ended up being the head coach. I didn't think I would get out of college and be the head coach at my alumni high school, but I coached there for 6 years, and then once I got married, I moved to Viera in Brevard County, where I currently live in Brevard now. I mean, I've always stayed working out. I just never committed to it long term, and I run here and there, and stayed active for the most part. Andrea Kohler, she pretty much stayed on me about, hey, you would do well in masters, and because I would post, I went for a run, or I lift weights or something, or I would post a video, and she would message me and say, hey, you would do well, you should compete. And I would say, I don't know if I want to do that. And then I had my son in 2018. I got married in the same year. And then after I had my son, she got back on me again. It was like, hey, you would do well in masters. And still I started thinking about it more as she stayed on me about it. Then I had my second child, and I definitely was like, oh no, if I can do it. Because I had gained significant weight with my second child. So it kind of discouraged me a little bit. So I was like, okay. She stayed on me then, had her. Then I had my third child. whose birthday is coming up, by the way. And then after that, I finally was like, okay, Andrea is very adamant and she's staying on me. So I definitely have to at least try, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So I secretly was training and I registered myself for an indoor meet and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna tell anyone. The only way I'm gonna tell people is if I actually run well. So I ended up running well in the 200. The 60 wasn't. I ran the 60, but the 60 it wasn't good for me. At least to my expectation for me to continue to do masters. But the 200 went well, so that was like encouraging for me to actually start doing masters. And so, of course, Andrea stayed on me and made sure I was registered, make sure I knew where meets were. And that's pretty much how I started with masters, with Andrea Kohler just staying on me until I actually did it.
Tell us some of your personal bests from, your younger days, and then move your way into what just happened last weekend and fill us in about that.
Okay, so in high school, my fastest time in high school was 11:45. I ran 23:69 and 54:25 in high school, which ultimately is what helped me get recruited to the University of Georgia. At the University of Georgia, I pretty much stayed around the same times. I didn't quite get back down to 11:45. I think I ran about 11:07 in college. I ran 23:07 in college. I did run faster in the 400 in college. I went 53:97, which was my fastest all time in college. Now, as a master athlete, I've run my fastest 100 as a master is 12:17. I've gone 24:7 and 55:06. So those are my current times as masters. And I think the college times are in reach. I've shown that I can run them on relay splits. I just haven't quite put it together in the open races. But I think I'm with continuing to train hard, I can definitely at least come close to those college times.
You got some great times there. Now tell us about this experience over the last, well, I should say, 2-3 weeks, and how you did there.
August 12th through the 26th, I went over to Gothenburg, Sweden, and competed in the World Masters Athletic Championship. I actually traveled over there on like the 13th. I only had like maybe a day before the prelim of the 100. Most people had already been there for like a couple days, and for me, I didn't go early as everyone else because it was the first day of school for my kids, so I wanted to see them off to school first before I left for Sweden. But it worked out. I don't know if going extra days would have made a difference in the 100. I mean, those girls were just on fire. They were just saying things in the race that I probably could have executed differently or better to get on the top of the podium. But in that race, in the 100, I had to do 3 rounds, so prelim, semis, and finals. Didn't realize how challenging it was actually going to be to do that many rounds of each event, because I was entered in the 100, the 200, the 400, and then I also was on the pool for the 4x1 and the 4x4. So in the 100, I placed 3rd. I was a bronze medalist, and my next event was a 200. I was very ambitious to go over there and to elect to be in 3 different opens. But in the 200, I ended up second. So I was a silver medalist in the 200. And in the 400, by the time we got to the 400, that was race number 10. Because we also had 3 rounds in the 400. So that was race number 10. And honestly, that was one of the races that I really felt like I left everything on the track. So I was the silver medalist in the 400 as well. But for that race, I didn't think that there was anything I could have done differently for it to pan out a different way. Literally, when we say leave it on the track, I left it on the track in the 400. So I was the bronze medalist in the 100. Silver medalist in the 200, silver medalist in the 400. I anchored our 4x1 for W35 to a bronze medal. And then I also anchored the 4x4 relay team to a gold medal.
And didn't you guys hit a record of some sort too?
We did not hit a record. So the previous American and the previous American record was the record that we set at nationals. So we had set that we set it to 3 weeks prior at nationals, but we ran with a different team at worlds.
Okay.
So we didn't quite we didn't beat our own record basically.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But the current W35 record is ours.
You just came off a very successful world championship. What's on the horizon for you?
Right now, we're just focusing on the transition. My coach called it a transition period. So we're transitioning this week, and then next week we'll start our fall training. Well, we really call it a strength training. So we do the regroup, I guess, and get the base training going back. And then once we do our base training to make sure that we are reactivating those muscles, then we transition to running and then indoor season.
So let's get a little more specific. So now you're coming into your off-season strength training and recovery. Give us sort of a typical week, if you will, of the strength training that you're doing, and maybe even the type of strength training. Is it more powerlifting type of thing, or is it still like explosive Olympic style lifts? What are you really doing there? And then how would you transition into the running phase, and what would you do in this kind of off-season running phase for workouts?
So when we first start back training, it's more so the basics, the basic doing push-ups, sit-ups, the basic pull-ups, just the basic exercises just to make sure that we haven't missed any kind of strength anywhere. So we do the basics for about maybe we'll do it for about 8 weeks, 12 weeks, just depending on the strength level. So if the strength levels are getting up, then the coach usually cuts us off at 8 weeks. But if we need more strength training, then he'll extend it to the 12 weeks. From the 12, once we get closer to the 8 weeks, then he'll put in one day of the track where we do maybe some I'll say like tempo runs. We'll do something on the grass, and then we transition into our hill work. So at that point, once we transition from strength training, then we add in the hills where we're running at least twice a week, and then we progress to our 4 to 5 days a week.
When will you start running meets indoor, and then are you planning on going to the Worlds in March?
My plan, and me and my coach still have to iron that out, is to compete starting in January. That was the first time I competed last year at the Jimmy Carnes meet in Gainesville. So that's pretty much where I do most of my indoor meets. I'm looking to do maybe maybe 2 meets out of the state of Florida. I'm thinking about doing one in Nebraska, but I may just based on where we are in training, I may just stick to only meets in Florida, being that the Nationals is in Florida and the Worlds are in Florida. Both meets I plan to compete in.
Obviously, you put the work in physically to perform the way you're performing, but that's only part of the equation. So I'd like to know a little bit more about how you approach diet and nutrition, and then also how you incorporate rest into your daily regimen or in your, specifically in your athletic workouts.
The longer I've been a master athlete, the more I am very conscious about what I eat now. I've met a lot of people that are very educated on the different foods, the cleaner things to eat. And so I've followed that, and it had definitely has helped me feel better and get through training sessions, especially when we get into the period where we're doing a lot of intense things. It's very important to make sure that our diet follows, or not necessarily, I didn't even really want to say diet, our lifestyle follow what we're trying to get the body to do. Because we can't just pour junk into the body and expect it to do, miraculous things. It's not gonna happen. Trust me, I know that. You can't eat burgers every week and think that. I mean, hey, if it works for people, then to each his own. For me, that doesn't work for me. So I stick to a lot of the leaner meats, a lot of the vegetables, because that's what works for me. So I say, whatever works for you as an athlete, let it work. But for me, I have to eat a lot cleaner to be at the top.
You've got family, you've got career, you have all these things going on. What's motivating you to drive so hard to achieve the level that you're achieving right now in athletics?
I think always personal. For me, it's I set a goal, and that's just with anything in life. When I set a goal for something that I want to do, I go hard until I accomplish it. Just like, for example, with my master's, it took me some time to actually. I kept saying, okay, I'm gonna go get my master's. I'm gonna get my master's. Okay, next year, maybe next year. It's took me 12 years to finally do my master's. But then I set the goal, and I was like, look, by this time, I'm going to get my master's. And also, I have younger kids too, and they love to see their mom compete. My son is 6 years old, and he's a stud right now and on the AAU circuit. Like, at 5 years old, he set the record for the long jump at the club nationals. He wouldn't want me to stop or to fail. So I'm motivated by that. And just me, like I said, me just setting the goal, okay, I have to run this time. I want to run this time. When I accomplish these time, then maybe I'll set more goals, or maybe I'll decide to retire. But I don't think I'm doing that anytime soon. So it's just me, I'm motivated because I have this goal and I want to attain this goal.
In your age group, that 35 to 40 group, I always kind of like to ask, how do you really put it all together? How do you get up at 5 a.m? Do you work out at night? How do you fit it all in when you're in that prime stage of life again, where you've got everything happening?
Working as a probation officer, I'm able to adjust my schedule. And the fact that I coach high school track as well works out because I also jump into workouts with the girls. I do the strength training with them. So that's what makes it work for me, because I'm able to, once I'm done with my regular job, I'm able to train and coach at the same time. And then I have, get my kids in the afternoons. And a lot of times my kids come with me to practice. They come with me to training. And they love it. They love being out there. So that's how it works for me. I'm working in the mornings. My kids are in school, so that makes it even easier for me. And then I train with the high school kids in the afternoon.
What is your secret sauce? And if you could bottle it, what would the ingredients be in that sauce?
I would say my secret sauce is my coach, James Folston. He knows track and field. He's very educated on track and field and what goes into producing great athletes. He has a history of producing great athletes, so he was the perfect person. Obviously, my determination is a part of it, the sauce, I guess. But I would say a big part of it is his contribution to my training and putting things out there about nutrition and just things that can help me be successful, that has made me successful. Because I don't think, with his belief, going into the World Championship, he was confident that I would do well, and I was hesitant about how many events I should do, and he encouraged me to go ahead and do the open events, and it worked out because I ended up medaling in all those events. Mm-hmm. Every single event that I entered, I medaled in. So he would be my secret sauce, James Folston.
Well, Odeika, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and giving us some insights as to what makes you an autumn athlete that's not done yet. I'd like to wrap up with just giving you the floor to give us some final thoughts.
I would love for anyone that's watching this interview or thinking about competing in Masters, I say do it. If you can make your schedule work, go ahead and do it. Age is just a number. Don't use that excuse. Oh, I'm too old, I'm too young. Don't use that as an excuse, because on Team USA, we had a 95-year-old that won gold. And she didn't say, well, I'm too old. She got out there and got the job done. So I would encourage anybody that's thinking about competing in Masters, go ahead and do it. Take the risk. You never know. You could be inspiring someone. There could be someone that's looking up to you like, oh, if she can do it or he can do it, then I can do it too. So I would encourage anybody that, if you're thinking about it, just go ahead and do it. Take the risk. If it doesn't work, then figure out how to make it work. Mm-hmm. And I also would like to encourage you all to come out to our nationals in February and come out to our World Championship in March. It's in my home state, so I hope to have a lot of you guys come out and support. Because, Masters athletes, I feel like we need a lot of support. We don't get as much coverage as, maybe say the pro athletes do. So I would recommend you come out and support or compete yourself.
Well, Odeika Giscombe, folks, she is definitely an autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.